Today I want to talk a little bit about external rotation in your rear shoulder and how that can affect your posture. So you see a lot of different postures definitely out on tour and in the amateur ranks when you're on the range and stuff like that. A person's posture will be determined with how much external rotation they have in their rear shoulder. One of the tests that you can do is you can actually raise your arm up to the 90-degree mark and then just rotate your shoulder back as far as possible. And I can only go to about right there. That exercise can show you how much external rotation you have in your shoulder, and then you can determine your posture from there. So if you have lots of external rotation in your backside like I do in my left side, one of the things that you'll be able to do is have a more bent over position at address. And the reason for this is because when you take the club back, you will be able to keep the club shaft on a shallower plane while maintaining this posture coming into the ball. If you have limited amounts of shoulder rotation like I do on my right side, because I've had shoulder surgery and I have a bone block inside which limits my flexibility and my external rotation in my back, in my right shoulder going back. So the limitation with this is I actually will have to stand a little bit more upright at address, and this will allow me to naturally keep the club shaft on a shallower angle coming into the golf ball, especially with the longer clubs. If I'm too bent over, if I have limited amounts of rotation in my rear shoulder and I get too bent over at address, what ends up happening is my club shaft comes in too steep into the golf ball. I can't get this position to shallow out any more than right here. And what ends up happening is I end up chunking the ball or taking huge divots with the irons. And that can be very detrimental on your game. So watch out for that. Test it out on the range, see how much external rotation you have in your shoulder joints, and then determine your posture from there. This is a major problem that I see on the range when people are trying to determine how bent over they should be at address. So it's just a simple test. Take your shoulder up to about 90 degrees, rotate it back as far as you can, see how much external rotation you have in your shoulders, and then go from there. Determine your posture with how much rotation you have in your shoulder joints. This can actually vary from club to club too, because every club is a different length, and you'll be able to test it out on the range and see what postures work best for different clubs. Your posture is going to be slightly different from club to club, so it's important to recognize that. One of the common swing faults that I see for a right-hander, they will get too bent over at address, and what ends up happening, one of the major faults that ends up happening is when they take the club back, everything will look pretty good at the top of the swing. Their shaft may be a little bit steep because they can't lay it off from this position as well. And what ends up happening when they come into the ball is they'll start standing up out of the shot, or as people like to call it, they'll start going into early extension. And that is a compensation move. It's not a move that they're consciously trying to do. They can't lay the club shaft off properly because of their limitations in their shoulder mobility and their shoulder external rotation when they're in a bent over position like this. So my advice is to line up at address with a little bit more upright of a posture. This will make it easier. There'll be less compensation for you to stand up out of the shot, and you'll end up flushing the ball with much more consistency because you don't have as much manipulation in your posture movement coming up and down like this. It'll be pretty stable coming into the ball if you're more upright. Same thing as if you were left-handed. So I can use my left-handed swing, and I have lots of external rotation in my backside on my left shoulder because it hasn't been operated on. And with my left-handed swing, I can actually get into a more bent over position at address and take the club back and stay in this address position. As I'm coming into the ball, I can maintain my posture while shallowing the shaft properly. One of the swing faults that I see with people that have hypermobility is they will end up standing too upright into the shot. And they'll take the club back, they can lay the club shaft off properly with their arms because they have lots of external shoulder rotation, and then they'll end up coming into the ball with too flat of a plane, and they'll end up topping a lot of shots. You'll see these guys, they will be more pickers of the golf ball, and they'll end up topping a lot more shots than a person who has limited amounts of shoulder rotation. So those are just a few things to look out for. So that's it for today, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed that. When you're on the range, go out, test out how much external rotation you have in your shoulders, and then determine how much of a posture tilt you can use in order to maximize your gains on the golf course. In the next video, we're going to be talking about club fitting, so club shafts, club lofts, balls, all that fun stuff. I want to talk a little bit about club lengths and how getting your clubs fit properly is very important for your own game and for your own performance. If you guys like this video, hit the subscribe button down below, and we'll see you.